The sky above New York City was painted with fire. Alien ships loomed in the clouds, their sleek, dark forms blotting out the sun. Each vessel carried destruction, releasing beams of light that sliced through buildings like knives through butter. Below, the streets were chaos, cars overturned, people running for shelter that didn't exist, and the echo of distant screams. This wasn't just another attack. It was humanity's last stand. Captain Maya Talland crouched in a crumbling subway station, the makeshift command center for Earth's final line of defense. Her once pristine combat suit was smeared with dirt and blood, her face streaked with exhaustion. Around her, a handful of soldiers huddled over a flickering holographic map, their faces tense as they planned a desperate counterattack. "The Zarnik's fleet is fully cloaked," said Sergeant Bonner, his deep voice barely masking the fear in his eyes. "We're shooting blind. If they hit us with another orbital strike, it's over." Maya slammed her fist on the table, her frustration boiling over. "We've got one shot. We hit them hard, disrupt their systems, and hope to hell they can't recover." Hope was a fragile thing, and Maya knew her soldiers were holding onto it by a thread. The Zarniks weren't just an advanced alien race, they were unbeatable. Their AI-controlled war machines predicted every human move before it was made. Their cloaking technology rendered them invisible. Their attacks were precise and merciless. Humanity had fought for years, but now, defeat seemed inevitable. Maya glanced around the room at her team. Bonner, her closest friend and the backbone of the unit, looked grim but determined. Private Lee, the youngest of the group, was shaking slightly, his eyes darting between the holographic map and the distant sound of explosions. The others weren't much better. The weight of their impending doom was crushing them. She couldn't let it happen. They needed to believe they had a chance, even if it was a lie. Desperation made her do something unexpected. "You know," Maya said, leaning casually against the table, "this reminds me of a joke my dad used to tell. What do you get when an alien invader walks into a bar?" The soldiers turned to her, confused. This wasn't the time for jokes. Maya smirked, pausing for effect. "A really bad hangover when humans kick their sorry asses out." There was silence for a moment. Then Bonner snorted. Private Lee chuckled. Soon, the entire room erupted in laughter, not the carefree kind, but a bitter, desperate sound that let them forget, just for a moment, that the world was ending. The sound echoed through their calms. Unknown to them, it also reached the Zarnik's fleet. Deep within the alien flagship, their advanced AI picked up the strange signal, human laughter. The Zarnik's AI began analyzing the sound. It scanned its vast database of patterns and logic, searching for an explanation. But there was none. The laughter was chaotic, irrational. It didn't fit into the Zarnik's understanding of behavior or strategy. The AI, built to predict and counter every move, was stuck in a loop, unable to make sense of what it heard. On the ground, Maya noticed something strange. The holographic map showed a slight disruption in the Zarnik's formation. Their cloaking devices flickered briefly, revealing the edges of a massive warship. "Wait," she said, her voice sharp. "Do you see that?" Their systems glitched. Bonner leaned in, his eyes widening. "That's impossible." "Not if we just broke their brains," Maya said with a grin. "We hit them now. Target the glitch and fire everything we've got." Her soldiers scrambled into action, launching missiles at the exposed warship. Explosions ripped through the air as the human strike hit its mark. The alien ship faltered, smoke pouring from its engines. For the first time, the Zarnik's fleet looked vulnerable. Maya's team erupted in cheers, but the moment was brief. The Zarniks would regroup quickly. Still, this small victory planted a seed of hope, a weapon humanity had thought they lost. As the scene faded, one question lingered: how could something as simple as laughter disrupt the most advanced technology in the galaxy? The answer was unclear, but Maya was determined to find it. The audience, hooked by the mix of action, tension, and unexpected humor, is left eager to see how humanity will turn their most basic trait into their greatest weapon. The war for Earth had begun long before the first Zarnik ships appeared on the horizon. For years, humanity had known that something was coming: disturbances in deep space, strange signals intercepted by satellites, and the growing hum of anxiety that rippled across the globe. But nothing could have prepared them for the arrival of the Zarniks. The Zarniks were an advanced and ruthless alien empire, a force that had conquered countless civilizations before. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Their ships were like massive shadows that could cloak themselves completely, slipping through space unseen until it was too late. Their AI-driven robots and war machines had wiped out entire planets with ease. Humanity, with all its resources and will, was nothing more than an inconvenience to the Zarniks. When the invasion began, it wasn't just a battle for survival, it was a fight for dignity. The Zarniks viewed humans as insignificant, primitive creatures, unworthy of their attention. Earth was little more than a resource-rich planet ripe for harvesting. The aliens believed that humanity would fall quickly, crushed under the weight of their superior technology. Cities burned as Zarniks warships dropped from the sky, their weapons cutting through Earth's defenses like paper. On the ground, humanity scrambled to adapt, but the Zarniks were always one step ahead. Cloaking devices made their ships nearly invisible to Earth's radar. Advanced robots, faster and stronger than any human soldier, tore through resistance forces with ease. The humans fought bravely, but they were outmatched. For every battle they won, the Zarniks retaliated with 10 times the force. As the war dragged on, Earth's once proud nations began to crumble under the pressure. Major cities fell, and the human population was steadily dwindling. But even as the humans were pushed to the edge of extinction, something unexpected happened. A group of scientists, working in secret under the banner of Project Laughter, uncovered a vulnerability in the Zarniks that no one had anticipated. The Zarniks, with all their advanced AI and superior technology, lacked the one thing that made humans truly unique: the ability to experience and express emotion. In particular, the Zarniks couldn't comprehend human humor. This discovery was nothing short of a breakthrough. For the Zarniks, humor was illogical. It was unpredictable, spontaneous, and chaotic, qualities that their highly structured AI systems could not process. To the aliens, it was a weakness that they simply could not understand. While their AI could predict and counter human military movements, it was entirely unprepared for something as irrational as a joke or a moment of laughter. Seeing this as their only hope, humanity's top minds began working on a plan to exploit this flaw. Project Laughter was born, a secret military initiative aimed at using humor and human emotion as a weapon. At first, it seemed absurd. How could something as simple as laughter possibly help win a war against the most powerful force in the galaxy? But as the project grew, its potential became clear. The project combined psychological research with advanced military strategy, developing ways to use humor not just to lift morale, but to disrupt the Zarniks' technology. Humanity's first real success came when they discovered that broadcasting laughter could confuse the Zarniks' communication systems. By transmitting human laughter at certain frequencies, it created a feedback loop in the Zarniks' AI, like static in a radio. The Zarniks' AI was unable to process the illogical noise, causing glitches and interruptions in their systems. Ships that had once been invulnerable to attack suddenly malfunctioned. Cloaking devices flickered, and enemy drones collided midair in confusion. As humanity's forces began to fight back, the true power of Project Laughter was realized. Human soldiers, once outmatched and overwhelmed, found a new weapon in their arsenal: laughter. Jokes and comedic transmissions became part of every mission strategy, a form of psychological warfare that disoriented the alien invaders. Meanwhile, the world around them was in ruins. Major cities had fallen, and Earth's military power was no longer centralized. The humans now fought from hidden bunkers, underground bases, and abandoned towns, using guerrilla tactics and their newfound weapon, humor, to stay alive. The Zarniks, still unable to understand human emotion, struggled to adapt. Despite their technological superiority, they couldn't grasp why the humans seemed so unpredictable. What did it mean when a soldier, facing certain death, cracked a joke? Why were humans laughing when they had no chance of victory? This lack of understanding became their downfall. In war, prediction is key, and without the ability to predict human behavior, the Zarniks were left scrambling to maintain control. As the war stretched on, the humans discovered that humor was more than just a distraction. It was a weapon that could break the Zarniks' most powerful systems. The Zarnix AI could predict attacks, but it couldn't predict laughter. The more the humans used it, the more the Zarnix systems faltered. This shift in tactics marked the beginning of humanity's long fight back. What had seemed like a hopeless cause was now a battle they had a chance of winning. Humanity's last hope for survival was a simple, yet profound truth: the Zarnix had underestimated the power of human emotion, and in doing so, had created their own greatest weakness. The war against the Zarnix was no longer just about survival, it had become a battle for the very soul of humanity. After the first successful use of laughter to disrupt the Zarnix's AI systems, the human forces began to develop their strategy with even greater precision. Laughter, once seen as a random distraction, was now a weapon and unexpected force that could turn the tide in humanity's favor. The idea had spread quickly throughout Earth's military channels: use humor to confuse and disrupt the Zarnix. They broadcast absurd jokes, strange sound effects, and bursts of laughter at regular intervals, throwing the Zarnix AI into a state of disarray. It was a bizarre form of warfare, but it worked. The Zarnix, who had relied on perfect, emotionless calculations, were now being overwhelmed by the chaotic nature of human emotion. Every time they tried to analyze the laughter, they encountered a glitch. Their cloaking devices faltered. Communication between ships became jumbled. Even their robotic soldiers, typically so precise, began malfunctioning. At first, it was small victories, broken drones, confused commanders, and momentary disruptions in the Zarnix formations. But soon, it became clear that laughter was more than just a trick. It was a fundamental weakness in the Zarnix's superiority. For the first time in the war, humanity was fighting back on their terms. Captain Maya Talland, the leader of a small but highly skilled unit, had been at the forefront of this new strategy. She and her team had perfected the art of humor as a weapon. Their latest mission was one of the most daring yet: an infiltration of a Zarnix command ship. Intelligence had suggested that this ship held the core of the Zarnix fleet's central control system, the heart of their operations. If they could disable it, the Zarnix might be thrown into disarray for long enough to shift the balance of power. Maya's team had planned for every possible outcome. They had to be quick, stealthy, and, above all, unpredictable. The mission wasn't just about taking out the enemy's technology, it was about keeping the Zarnix's AI on the back foot, unable to respond to the chaos they were about to unleash. The night before the mission, as they gathered in their base, Maya stood in front of her team, her eyes scanning their faces. There was a tension in the air, an unspoken understanding of how dangerous this mission was. It would be risky, no one knew exactly what to expect once they infiltrated the command ship. But there was also something else: an underlying hope. The laughter had given them more than just tactical advantage, it had given them belief. "All right, team," Maya said, breaking the silence, "here's the plan. We'll take them by surprise, and once we're inside, we broadcast every damn joke we know. Make it so absurd, they won't know how to react." The team nodded, their faces tense but determined. They had seen what laughter could do, and they were ready to fight with everything they had. As they approached the Zarnix command ship, the plan unfolded. They infiltrated using a cloaking device of their own, slipping past the enemy's defenses undetected. Once inside, they set up their equipment in the heart of the ship, right under the central command systems. The Zarnix AI wouldn't know what hit it. Maya activated the communication system. The first burst of laughter echoed through the ship's network. At first, the Zarnix didn't react. But within moments, their AI began to glitch. Systems shut down, doors malfunctioned, and Zarnix drones began crashing into each other. Maya's team couldn't help but laugh, seeing their plan work so perfectly. But the Zarnix were quick to adapt, they started scrambling to repair their systems. Maya, knowing this would only last a short time, instructed her team to continue the chaos. One soldier would tell a joke over the comms. Another would broadcast a laugh, while yet another played a random sound effect. Each burst of humor sent the Zarnix AI into a deeper state of confusion. Their once unbeatable systems were now reacting in ways that made no sense to them. What was even more unsettling for the Zarnix was the randomness of it all. Their algorithms simply couldn't process the absurdity of the human mind. But as the mission progressed, the unexpected happened. During one critical moment, the team was ambushed by a group of Zarnix soldiers. It happened so fast, before they knew it, Bonner, Maya's closest friend and one of the most skilled soldiers in the unit, was caught in a blast. He didn't make it. Maya froze for a moment, her heart sinking as she saw him fall. The mission suddenly felt personal. Bonner's sacrifice weighed heavily on her, but there was no time for mourning. With a deep breath, she stood up, her face hardening. "We keep going," she said, her voice steady despite the pain. For Bonner. The team pressed on, their mission now a tribute to their fallen comrade. Every joke they told, every burst of laughter they broadcast, wasn't just to confuse the enemy anymore. It was for Bonner, and for all the soldiers who had fallen before him. As they made their way deeper into the ship, the Zarnix's confusion grew. The unexpected had happened. The mission was a success, but at a great cost. Maya and her team had once again proven the power of humor, but they now carried the weight of loss, a reminder of how precious their fight was and how far they would go to win. The laughter, the chaos, and the pain all mixed together, forging an even stronger bond between Maya and her team, and between humanity and its fight for survival. The battle for Earth had come to a head. The Zarnix, relentless and powerful, launched an all-out attack on humanity's last remaining stronghold, a fortified city built deep within the mountains. Earth's forces, though weary and outnumbered, had managed to hold off the alien empire for weeks, but this would be their final stand. The Zarnix were determined to wipe out humanity once and for all, and they were bringing everything they had: armadas of warships, battalions of drones, and their most advanced AI-controlled war machines. But the humans were no longer the helpless victims they once were. In the face of overwhelming odds, they had discovered a surprising weapon: humor. Laughter, once considered a simple human trait, had now become their secret weapon. What the Zarnix couldn't understand, they couldn't control. They had underestimated humanity's ability to turn something as random and illogical as laughter into a devastating force. And now, they were about to pay the price. Maya Talent, captain of the elite team that had pioneered the use of laughter in combat, knew this final assault was their last chance. She had seen her comrades fall, she had witnessed the destruction of their cities, and she had experienced the loss of her closest friend, Bonner. But now, she was driven by a singular purpose: to save humanity and show the Zarnix that they had underestimated what it meant to be human. The plan was simple yet audacious: infiltrate the Zarnix flagship and disrupt their central command system using humor. Maya's team had infiltrated enemy ships before, but this would be the most dangerous mission they'd ever undertaken. The flagship was heavily guarded, its corridors filled with elite Zarnix soldiers, and its AI was the most advanced of all. Yet, despite the odds, Maya and her team were ready. They had the advantage of surprise and, of course, their laughter. As the team approached the flagship, they used their cloaking technology to slip past the Zarnix defenses undetected. Once inside, they made their way through the ship's vast, sterile hallways, their nerves on edge. They knew that if they were discovered, the mission would fail in an instant. But they also knew that if they succeeded, they could end the war and save Earth from total destruction. Finally, they reached the control center, a massive room filled with screens, monitors, and communication systems, all controlled by the Zarnix AI. Maya's team set up their equipment, preparing to broadcast the most absurd, chaotic signals imaginable. They had learned that the more unpredictable the humor, the more the Zarnix AI struggled to process it. With everything in place, Maya gave the signal. The team began to unleash their plan. Over the ship's communication network, they started broadcasting the loudest, most ridiculous bursts of laughter. Maya told the first joke, something completely nonsensical about a chicken crossing a road for no reason at all. The rest of the team followed suit, each telling increasingly absurd jokes that made no sense to anyone except the humans. They laughed hysterically, amplifying the chaos. The more they laughed, the more confused the Zarnix AI became. At first, the alien systems seemed to stutter, but then things began to go wrong in a big way. The Zarnix war machines started malfunctioning, their AI-controlled ships unable to process the illogical noise coming through their communications channels. Their robotic soldiers, once precise and unyielding, became erratic, stumbling and colliding with each other. Their sensors couldn't focus properly, their targeting systems misfired, and their weapons began to malfunction. Maya and her team saw it happening before their eyes. The Zarnix were losing control. The laughter, the chaos, the utter unpredictability of human emotion was overwhelming their systems. It was as if the entire ship had been thrown into disarray by the sheer illogic of it all. But it didn't stop there. On the Zarnik's flagship's main deck, one of their warships, a massive battlecruiser, began preparing to launch an orbital strike on the remaining human defenses. The Zarnik's AI calculated the trajectory, prepared the launch, and locked onto Earth's last stronghold. But as the laughter continued, the AI's targeting systems began to falter. The strike, once aimed with deadly precision, suddenly began to veer off course. The laughter broadcasted by Maya's team was too chaotic for the Zarnik systems to comprehend. The warship's weapons fired, but instead of hitting their intended target, the strike turned back on the Zarnik's fleet. It was a disaster for the aliens. Their own forces were hit by the orbital bombardment, and chaos erupted across the battlefield. The once invincible fleet was now in disarray, with their own ships firing on each other. As the malfunctioning war machine spun out of control, Maya and her team took full advantage. They launched their final assault on the command center, clearing the path to the heart of the ship. The Zarniks were completely out of sync. The laughter had broken their control, and now the humans were pushing forward with relentless determination. It was a strange, surreal victory. The Zarniks, who had once believed themselves to be unbeatable, were now on the brink of defeat, undone by the most unpredictable weapon imaginable, human laughter. The aliens' highly advanced AI systems had crumbled, unable to process the randomness and emotional power of humor. The Zarniks, once so confident in their superiority, had fallen to the very thing they couldn't comprehend. Maya stood victorious, though the cost had been high. The laughter had won the war, but it had come at the price of many lives. Bonner's sacrifice weighed heavily on her heart, but she knew he would have been proud. In that moment, humanity had proven something far greater than its technological ability. It had proven the strength of the human spirit. The final battle was over, and Earth was saved. The Zarniks, their systems shattered, had no choice but to retreat. The humans, scarred but victorious, had won the impossible fight. Against overwhelming odds, with nothing more than their laughter, the war was over. After years of relentless attacks from the Zarniks and countless battles fought at the edge of humanity's survival, Earth had emerged victorious. The alien empire, once so sure of its superiority, had been forced to retreat, defeated not by advanced weaponry or strategic genius, but by the very thing that had made humanity different from every other species in the universe: emotion. The Zarniks had come to Earth with one goal: to conquer and claim the planet's resources. They brought with them their most advanced technology, an army of machines, and a fleet of warships that seemed unstoppable. The humans, outmatched and outnumbered, had no way of facing such an enemy. But they had something the Zarniks could not comprehend or predict: the power of laughter. After their crippling defeat at the hands of human humor, the Zarniks were left with no choice but to retreat. Their once dominant fleets, crippled by malfunctioning AI systems, became easy targets for humanity's forces. The alien soldiers, unable to function properly, were quickly overwhelmed. The Zarniks, who had once seen themselves as an unstoppable force, now found themselves in full retreat, unable to recover from the chaos that laughter had caused. Humanity, though battered and scarred, had reclaimed its home. The final victory was more than just a military achievement, it was a victory of the human spirit. The Zarniks had failed to understand what made humans unique. They had calculated everything with cold precision, expecting the battle to be won through firepower and strategy. But in the end, it was the random, chaotic nature of human emotions, especially laughter, that had undone them. It was a simple thing, something that had always been part of humanity's culture and everyday life, but in this moment, it had become the key to saving the entire planet. In the aftermath of the battle, Maya Talon stood on the rebuilt balcony of Earth's capital, gazing out at the horizon. The world was beginning to heal, cities were being rebuilt, and families were reuniting. The scars of war were still visible, but hope had returned. Humanity had not just survived, it had triumphed. As she looked out at the people below, Maya reflected on everything that had brought them to this point. She thought of her fallen comrades, especially Bonner, whose sacrifice had been the turning point of their final assault. The mission had been difficult, filled with loss, but in the end, they had won against all odds. Maya couldn't help but smile. She had been there in the darkest moments, when everything seemed lost. But they had fought not just with weapons, but with their hearts. The ability to laugh, to find humor even in the most dire of situations, had given them the strength to carry on. It was something the Zarniks could never understand. They had been programmed to follow logic, to analyze, and to dominate. But in the end, it was the very thing they couldn't process, the randomness, the unpredictability, the absurdity that had broken them. She turned away from the balcony and made her way to the memorial that had been erected in honor of all those who had fallen in the war. Bonner's name was engraved alongside hundreds of others. It was a quiet moment, one of reflection and remembrance. But there was also a sense of peace. The war was over, and Earth was free. The Zarniks had underestimated the strength of humanity not in terms of technology, but in terms of emotion. And that had made all the difference. As Maya stood there, she thought about the future. Humanity had proven that they were capable of incredible things, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. The war had shown that humans were resilient, adaptable, and, most of all, unpredictable. They were a force the Zarniks could never have anticipated. The rebuilding process was slow, but it was steady. People were coming together, pooling their resources and their strengths to restore Earth to its former glory. Cities that had been destroyed were being reconstructed, and the people who had once cowered in fear now walked with their heads held high. There was a sense of unity, a shared belief that humanity could overcome anything. Maya knew that the war with the Zarniks had changed humanity in ways that would be felt for generations. But more importantly, it had reminded them of something crucial, that no matter how advanced technology became, no matter how powerful an enemy seemed, humanity's greatest strength lay in their emotions, their unpredictability, and their ability to find joy even in the darkest times. And as the sun began to set over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the world, Maya couldn't help but laugh. It wasn't a loud, dramatic laugh. It was a small, private laugh. One born from relief, from triumph, and from the simple joy of being alive. It was the kind of laughter that had carried them through the toughest of times, and in this moment, it felt like the world had been made right again. Humanity had won, not because of its technology, but because of its heart. And that was a victory no alien civilization could ever take away.